How did the son of a German businessman and a humble Scottish immigrant manage to succeed, become a billionaire? Becoming president of the United States twice and rising as one of the most powerful and controversial figures in the world? To understand this, we must first analyze Fred Trump, the most influential person in his life. His father, who from childhood was instilled with a strong conviction, the belief that he was genetically superior to others, a bearer of a different blood, a privileged lineage destined for great achievements. Years later, that certainty would be the legacy he would pass on to his children. Fred was only 12 years old when his father's death forced him to take on adult responsibilities, thus shaping his character and determination. After high school, he worked as a carpenter's assistant and explored related trades that gave him the foundation to start his own business. At the age of 21, the company E. Trump and Sons. With the capital inherited from his father, he began buying properties on the verge of foreclosure. And little by little, he discovered the secrets of the business: buy cheap, sell high, and cleverly take advantage of every legal loophole to avoid taxes. Over time, his company expanded until it became one of the most important real estate firms in New York. In the mid-1930s, Fred Trump met Marianne McLeod, a Scottish immigrant who worked cleaning houses in Queens. They married and raised 5 children, instilling the same beliefs in superiority, success, and hard work. The fourth of them, born on June 14, 1946 in New York, would be the one who best embodied these lessons. Work hard, don't be weak, were phrases that Donald Trump heard since he was a child. You are sharks, you are kings, Fred repeated to them over and over again, especially to his sons. However, these words never resonated with Fred Jr., Donald's older brother. His dreams were different. He wanted to fly airplanes, not build buildings or run businesses. This, in his father's eyes, made him a failure, a man of weak character, without ambition. Fred constantly despised him and humiliated him publicly. This led his eldest son to completely distance himself and turn to alcohol, a vice that would ultimately end his life early. Because he was very different from his brother, Donald was considered from a very young age to be his father's natural successor, his favorite son. The essence of his personality could be clearly distinguished from his early years. He was egocentric, impulsive, provocative. He knew he was the richest kid in school, and this made him feel superior. His classmates also remember him as an outstanding athlete and the main instigator of bullying. In class, he was so unruly that even teachers couldn't control him. He intimidated, hit others, and harassed the girls. And on one occasion, he even attacked a teacher by throwing an eraser that hit him right below the eye. The incident caused the school to call in his father. When he got home, Fred Molesto decided to check Donald's room, and there, he discovered something even more disturbing. Among his belongings, he was hiding knives and switchblades, weapons he used to take with him to school. Angry over his son's actions, Fred Trump gave him the toughest punishment by sending him to an institution. He was sent to a northern state military boarding school in hopes of taming his character. Additionally, in summers, he made him deliver newspapers by bike and later accompany him to supervise the family's construction sites. Donald entered military school at the age of 13 and stayed there until the end, until he was 17. It was a relentless and ruthless environment where physical brutality and verbal abuse were not only tolerated, but encouraged as part of the discipline. It was a structure in which Donald fit perfectly, a place where he finished forging his character and igniting his competitive nature. He wasn't satisfied with just surviving. He had to dominate, and he did. He excelled in multiple sports and was named baseball team captain in his final year. He graduated in 1964 with the highest honors, and in the yearbook, his classmates nicknamed him, half mockingly and half admiringly, the ladies' man, another trait that would stay with him for life. Someday I'll be famous, he used to tell his friends boldly and confidently, as if he already sensed the magnitude of his destiny. At 18, Donald entered Fordham University in New York, and 2 years later, in 1966, he transferred to the prestigious Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania. Considered a breeding ground for business elites, he finished his studies there in 1968 and obtained a degree in economics. Fresh out of school, he quickly joined the family business, which was then facing serious difficulties. 3 years later, tired of these issues, Fred resigned from the board and made his son Donald president. People fall into two categories. He used to call them losers and killers, and Donald knew exactly which side he wanted to be on. One of his first moves as head of the university company were as symbolic as revealing he considered that the name E. Trump & Son sounded gray, old, and lacked of ambition, then decided renaming it with the name of the Trump Organization, thus marking a new stage for the company and for him. Shortly after, he left the family house and got his own department in Manhattan's heart. There, between skyscrapers and neon lights, started going out to the most exclusive clubs. Always surrounded by beautiful women, he became the center of everyone's attention. This attention fascinated him, but not his father, who scolded him harshly, warning him that he was wasting valuable time. But Donald replied with conviction he believed that this was also part of his job. He was cultivating an image, building a reputation with other powerful people, forging his personal brand. However, this would soon be affected. After his first appearance in the New York Times, the headline was blunt: "Owner accused of anti-black prejudice in the city." The Department of Justice sued Donald Trump and his company for alleged racial discrimination in housing rentals. The investigation revealed a troubling pattern when an African American applied to rent an apartment. The employees marked their application with the letter C for color, a tacit stamp that indicated automatic rejection. Regardless of their income or background, there was no need to review their paperwork. Undercover agents led the government to discover this practice. African American applicants were told there was no availability, while white applicants were immediately offered options. When the case broke in the pages of the New York Times, most of his lawyers advised him to end the conflict as soon as possible and reach a settlement. But Donald's instinct didn't allow for surrender, much less in a battle that could define his public image. It was around that time that he met a person who would deeply influence his way of understanding power. It was the famous lawyer Roy Cohn, known for being the preferred attorney of the main mafia families in New York. Donald liked him from the first moment he met him in that luxurious nightclub. There was a mix of cynicism, aggressiveness, and cunning in him that fit perfectly with his own view of the world. Roy was the only one to assure him that he could win the trial. From then on, Trump made him his lawyer, his friend, and his advisor in delicate moments. From Roy Cohn, he learned two lessons that he would carry with him: never admit mistakes and always fight back. He assured him that you never lose as long as you don't admit defeat, and that the best defense is a good offense. Then he filed a $100 million countersuit against the Department of Justice. That one remained, but the maneuver allowed him to negotiate from a stronger position and get out of the process with a favorable settlement. To make certain practices in housing rentals more transparent, but without admitting any guilt.
The maneuver allowed and a rental agreement to admit housing practices.
He came out of that problem stronger and with renewed ambition. Then he began to look toward the skyscrapers, the luxury hotels, the rail yards, and the areas around the river that ran through Manhattan. His father had amassed a fortune, but he had gotten stuck in Brooklyn, clinging to safe projects and affordable housing. Donald, on the other hand, longed to make his mark in the heart of the city. The opportunity presented itself to him in 1976, when he was 30 years old. The Commodore Hotel, an iconic building, was falling apart, a victim of neglect and urban crisis. For many, it was a symbol of New York's decline. But for Trump, it was the opportunity of his life. He partnered with the Hyatt hotel chain, and together they proposed a bold renovation of the hotel to the local government as a symbol of New York's rebirth. At that time, the city was going through a crisis. It needed investment and to project an image of hope and recovery. The proposal appealed to the politicians, many of whom were old acquaintances of Fred Trump, so they approved an extraordinary tax agreement. The building would be exempt from taxes for decades. That advantage was key for Donald to turn the Commodore into the Grand Hyatt with an investment of $110 million, making it one of the most striking and successful hotels in the country. That brilliant move established him as a rising businessman, on track to surpass his father's achievements, and all of that without neglecting his hectic personal life. Lavish parties and endless nights were his routine until 1977, when he married Ivana Selnikova, a competitive skier and former child actress from Czechoslovakia. 9 months later, in December of that year, his first son, Donald Jr., was born. Trump was achieving his dreams with determination and precision, but still had much left to do. Fantasies he had planted in his mind since he was a teenager. One of them was to build his own tower on Fifth Avenue, the most dazzling and competitive artery of Manhattan, a place he loved. The opportunity arose when the historic Bonwit Teller building, one of the most iconic in the area, was put up for sale. Trump quickly bought it, certain he would build a monument to his ambition there. And that's how his most famous work was born, the Trump Tower, a 58-story, 202-meter tall skyscraper, the tallest concrete building in New York at that time. Inaugurated in 1982, the tower became a symbol of power, luxury, and excess. Its pink marble atrium, with indoor waterfalls and exclusive boutiques, fascinated both New Yorkers and tourists. The city, in a crisis of confidence after difficult years, surrendered to that new emblem of modernity. Trump Tower not only catapulted Donald into the business elite, but also turned his last name into a synonym for status, gaining a lot of prestige. For Trump, the real triumph didn't just lie in the profitability of the project, but also in making sure everyone knew who was behind that success. He had begun to understand the strategic value of the project. It wasn't just about putting up buildings, but about building a narrative that elevated his achievements. So he learned how to handle himself in front of the cameras, to enjoy the spotlight shining on him. And if the scene could be complemented with celebrities or beautiful women by his side, even better. He wanted to be around anything that could boost his status. It was part of the business, not just aimless vanity, but a deliberate calculation. Fame as a source of power. Not just a real estate developer, to become a national celebrity, he became a frequent guest on the most popular talk shows. These were ideal settings to continue shaping his image before a country that was getting to know him more and more, and above all, enjoyed listening to him. Trump had a natural talent for that. He spoke boldly, provoked headlines, and captured attention. Soon, everything he did or said appeared in the newspapers. Over time, he adopted a fundamental rule: all press is good press. Under that premise, he managed to appear on the covers of New York newspapers and magazines 87 times during those years. His fame was no longer limited to Manhattan. Now, his name resonated throughout the United States, and as his popularity grew, so did his most ambitious acquisitions. The casino hotels of Atlantic City were introduced with great fanfare as symbols of grandeur and fortune. However, these would soon become the beginning of his path to ruin. Trump understood hotels, but not casinos. True to his style, he bet everything, believing the cards were in his favor. An apparent financial advantage. His reputation had made banks compete to lend him money, offering him easy and abundant access to credit. This pushed him to leverage himself aggressively and to launch multiple projects simultaneously. In 1984, he inaugurated the Trump Plaza, an impressive complex in Atlantic City that cost him around $210 million. It was his first major gamble. Just a year later, in 1985, he took another big risk. He acquired a half-finished hotel casino for $325 million. He completed it and renamed it Trump Castle and entrusted the management to his wife, Ivana. But his most ambitious bet would come later, in 1988, when he set his sights on the monumental Taj Mahal, A casino started in the early 80s and abandoned half-built. After a fierce bidding war against television host and tycoon Merv Griffin, Trump acquired the property for $230 million, and he set out to finish it with an extravagant level of luxury, surpassing all known standards. However, that vision drove the budget so high it almost reached me. The place was promoted as the eighth wonder of the world, a colossus of lights, domes, and endless carpets. But beneath that brilliance, a dangerous detail was hidden. The project's financing was extremely risky. Trump had not been able to secure enough traditional loans, so he ended up turning to high-yield bonds, also known as junk bonds. Due to their high interest rates, Trump accepted 14% annually, an extremely high rate for such a large project. That's how he got the $675 million he needed to complete the project. Many warned him, even publicly, that the Taj Mahal could never generate the income needed to cover such a debt. The numbers didn't add up, but Trump ignored them. In April 1990, he went all out with a lavish party full of luxury and major celebrities, like Michael Jackson. For many, it was the event of the year. For others, like Fred, his father, it was just a big noose around his neck. After looking around the place and true to his direct style, he asked him a question that was as simple as it was devastating. "Tell me, son, how do you plan to pay the electricity bill?" Unlike Donald Fred, Trump had always been a prudent, calculating, and intelligent businessman, so he could clearly see the abyss his son was heading toward. But he still didn't grasp how serious the situation was. That night, his attention was focused on the huge media coverage he had managed to attract. A tragic event had multiplied the media interest. 3 days before the inauguration, a helicopter carrying 3 of the top executives from his casinos had crashed, leaving no survivors. Trump gathered the media to express his sadness over the loss, but also to add a little twist to the story. He claimed that he himself was about to board that helicopter, but at the last moment decided not to. He seemed to say, "Fate wants me alive." This moved the audience and reinforced the image of a man marked by providence. But those who knew him knew it wasn't true. Donald always traveled in his private helicopter. It was a luxury he never gave up. But what mattered wasn't the truth. It was the effect. And Trump never missed an opportunity to create it.
Do you know why you do it? Because you love advertising? I hate it. Seriously, get out of here. I won't say it. I just hate advertising.
Oh, the strategies brought crowds to the Taj Mahal, but it wasn't enough. Everyone was right. The financial burden was unsustainable, even more so in the early 1990s, when the United States economy went into recession and revenues plummeted. His other casinos' finances didn't help either. Trump had made them compete against each other, draining customers and weakening all of them equally. That bubble wouldn't take long to burst. He had built an empire with a colossal appearance on foundations of debt. But the casinos weren't his only excess. In 1988, he purchased New York's luxurious Plaza Hotel, an architectural gem, for $390 million, which, by the way, was where, a few years later, he filmed his famous cameo in the movie Home Alone 2, where he reinforced his image as a tycoon in front of millions of viewers. In 1989, he collapsed and started another wild adventure. He acquired a regional airline for $365 million, renamed it Trump Shuttle, and redecorated its planes. Featuring leather interiors, marble bathrooms, and gold accents, no one suspected anything then. But Donald Trump entered the 90s completely leveraged, sustained only by the hope that his businesses would generate enough cash flow to cover the interest on his gigantic debt. According to financial records, his commitments amounted to $3.4 billion in total, a figure that put him on the edge. The fall didn't take long to come. At the beginning of 1991, less than a year after its opening, the lavish Taj Mahal was declared bankrupt. Trump was forced to give up 50% ownership to the bondholders in exchange for a reduction in interest rates and a postponement of payments. But that was just the beginning. In 1992, the legendary Plaza Hotel in New York collapsed under the weight of a $550 million debt. And once again, Trump was forced to hand over almost half of the shares to the banks. During those years, Trump became a full-time negotiator, spending endless hours in lawyers' offices, bank offices, and meeting rooms, trying to save what he still could. Alarmed by the crisis, the banks demanded stronger guarantees. As part of the restructuring agreements, Donald had to let go of several of his most prized assets. He sold his luxury yacht, the Trump Princess, got rid of his private jet, and handed over the Trump Shuttle airline completely to his creditors. He was also forced to sell 50% of the Trump castle to new investors to generate some liquidity. If the 80s had been his rise to the sky, the 90s were turning into an abrupt return to earth. Some analysts estimated that his net worth was negative, meaning he owed more money than he actually had. His credibility, which for him was his most important asset, was also collapsing. How could he still be considered a successful businessman if one after another his companies were going bankrupt? Moreover, as if the storm wasn't strong enough, at that time, he faced the collapse of his marriage to Ivana Trump, with whom he already had 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. But for Donald, the big problem wasn't the separation, but rather that the press revealed the reason behind it. He had been unfaithful to his wife with the actress Marla Maples. Of course, his divorce came at a very high cost, both in money and in reputation. But Trump was not willing to lose the media battle. He knew that in his world, there was no such thing as bad press. It was something he constantly repeated himself. You just had to flip the situation and control the narrative. He then called his friend Jerry Nachman, editor of the New York Post, and offered a headline he thought would be perfect for the next cover. Marla told him, "I'm the best sex she's ever had." The editor requested confirmation, and Trump immediately called his new girlfriend, who confirmed his statement. Soon, that phrase would spread nationwide. Many criticisms came, but Trump felt he had gained something valuable: respect among men. With a girlfriend who spoke of him that way, they could accuse him of anything but losing, and that was his victory. Shortly after, he would have a daughter with Marla Maples, Tiffany Trump, and pressured by his father's insistence, he decided to marry her. Fred Trump's presence was imposing in his life. He had not only shaped him, but was also the great support that allowed him to undertake his most ambitious projects. Thanks to his great wealth and wide network of contacts, Donald had been able to grow during the golden years and later in the 90s, stay afloat through the storm that had hit him. But that dependence fueled criticism. His detractors accused him of enjoying privileges that no one else had, from generous tax breaks to hundreds of millions of dollars in donations. Advances on inheritance and interest-free loans from his father. Some began to realize that Donald had taken big risks because he knew he had a safety net. And thanks to it, he wove the legend of the successful businessman who never lost. But this interpretation infuriated him. He hated the suggestion that his success started with and depended on his father. He needed to get rid of that, to project autonomy, self-fulfillment, something he had managed to achieve for a long time. However, in the 90s, that facade began to crack. He stopped being the biggest real estate developer in New York. Many speculated that even with all his privileges, Trump was losing the game he himself had created. But he couldn't conceive of this defeat. He had to prove everyone wrong. He wasn't losing. He was just about to win. He had stopped being some things. It was time to become others, time to reinvent himself. By 1996, he had already finished renegotiating and restructuring with the banks the debt that had almost driven him to bankruptcy. During those years, Fred had found multiple ways to inject capital, financial maneuvers that allowed him to evade inheritance taxes. With donations exceeding $413 million, Donald managed to stabilize his situation. He regained credit and liquidity. With his finances back in order, he got ready for what he had long awaited, the moment to relaunch his personal brand. He chose to invest in high-profile assets and acquisitions that would make headlines and return his last name to the front pages. So he bought the rights to the Miss Universe, Miss United States of America, and Miss Teen United States of America beauty pageants, as well as a 70-story building on Wall Street, which he renamed the Trump Building. And in 1997, to fully seal his comeback in grand style, he published his second book, The Art of the Comeback, a continuation of his work written 10 years earlier, The Art of the Deal. In that book, Donald turned bankruptcy into a story of victory. Thus, the man who had come close to the abyss presented himself once again as the eternal survivor, the tycoon capable of reinventing himself time and again. Telling the world that he was back opened up new opportunities for him. He was the man who had fallen, but knew how to get back up. He had a powerful story to sell, and he knew how to do it. With that, an idea that had been on his mind for a long time resurfaced: the presidential candidacy. The polls were relentless. More than 3/4 of those surveyed said they would never vote for him, but everyone knew who he was. They knew his name, his face, his skyscrapers, and his scandals. Whether they loved him or hated him, they knew his story. That of a successful businessman, the living example of the American dream. A man who got things done, who had risen from the ashes. For most people, he was a self-made man, someone who had started with little and ended up building an empire. And yet he acted like an ordinary guy, with a practical, street-smart mindset, as if he had never forgotten his roots. Trump had forged a blend of unattainable glamour with popular approachability. As he states in his book, people want to be sold fantasies. Most people don't usually think big, but they get excited when they see someone who does. With that conviction, he made exaggeration an art and became a lover of hyperboles, of presenting his achievements in colossal dimensions, even when the projects didn't work out or weren't even his. After all, the truth isn't what matters, but rather the perception of it. Of course, Donald wasn't without merit. He was an ambitious, persistent person, gifted with leadership and a remarkable ability to attract people. He worked tirelessly and was a shrewd negotiator. But his true talent didn't lie in those virtues, but in the art of selling himself, of marketing his image. He understood people's mindset and knew exactly what to give them. To be seen as someone worthy of admiration, Did making this impact make him consider the 2000 elections? But in 1999, a great tragedy occurred. Fred Trump, the most important person in his life, couldn't overcome a severe case of pneumonia and passed away because of it. This news was devastating for Donald. He told the media it was the darkest, most difficult day of his life. I don't think he was exaggerating this time. The funeral gathered a crowd. Relatives, businessmen, public figures, and old acquaintances came to pay tribute to the patriarch of the Trump family. Notably absent was Donald's wife, Marla Maples, which confirmed the rumors. 17 days before the tragedy, they had signed the divorce. That's why she stopped attending. Donald already had a new partner, Melania Naus, a Slovenian model he had been dating for almost a year. Later, Donald would say he fell in love with her the moment he saw her.
We met in New York in 1998. There was great chemistry and energy.
After the funeral and a prolonged dispute over his father's will, the inevitable question came up again. Should he run for president? The magnetism of politics attracted him strongly, and for months he openly flirted with the idea. He gave interviews, organized events, and even presented himself as a pre-candidate within the Reformist Party, convinced that his popularity could open the doors of the White House for him. But despite the media attention, his political adventure was brief. He withdrew before the primary elections and did not appear on any ballot. The reason was simple. He knew he had no chance of winning, and didn't want to be seen as a loser. That was the only label he couldn't afford. To become president, do you think you would win? Well, I don't know. I think I would win. I'm telling you, I wouldn't go to lose. I've never lost in my life. But would people vote for him? Donald always believed so. He had shaped his image as if he had always intended to run for office. But he was clear that at that moment, he wouldn't win. His fame was very cyclical. At times, he appeared everywhere, and at other times, he completely disappeared from the media radar. That inconsistency frustrated him, until one night, a British producer named Mark Burnett approached him with a proposal that would change his destiny. He had in mind a television show centered on the ruthless world of business, and he needed someone to embody it. Someone capable of representing toughness, admiration, the glamour and ambition of a true tycoon, and no one was better suited than him. Trump liked the idea, so he agreed. The project would be called The Apprentice, and before it aired on January 8, 2004, the concept kept being renewed until it began revolving around its host. The real star would be Donald Trump.
I was in serious trouble. I was billions of dollars in debt.
It was a reality show with 16 contestants, driven by ambition, split into two teams to compete week after week for an irresistible prize, a juicy contract of $250,000 a year as a top executive in one of Donald Trump's companies. Each episode featured a real-world business challenge: selling a product, designing a campaign, launching a new brand, or negotiating with demanding clients. Ultimately, the results were judged coldly: sales, revenue, impact. The winning team received luxurious rewards, like exclusive dinners, limousine rides, and other powerful experiences designed to savor success, while the losing team had to face Trump and his two advisors in the boardroom. There they analyzed and debated which of the team members had failed in the task, until Donald, the main character, made a final decision and sealed it with a phrase that would soon become iconic: "You're fired." The Apprentice was undoubtedly the best thing that happened to him. For 14 seasons, the show became a television phenomenon, which not only earned Trump more than $500 million in salaries, licensing, and sponsorships, it gave him something much more special, something he didn't have: the opportunity to enter more than 20 million American households every week through the screen. Behind her, Donald played his mastered role, the relentless, successful businessman with an enviable lifestyle. The show presented him as a business genius, an authoritative and expert voice, the very embodiment of what it meant to be a boss. That image took his status higher. Trump became even more linked to luxury, power, and prestige. Donald understood that his personal brand was at its peak, so he decided to exploit it, monetize it to the fullest, and finally transform it into his most important asset. That's why his name isn't just on skyscrapers anymore. Casinos and hotels to expand into new territories like golf courses and universities. Clothing collections, ties, perfumes, meats, chocolates, and even bottled water. Products with the Trump brand tended to rise in value, and yet he didn't manage these companies. He just licensed his name under an implicit promise, the promise of guaranteed success. Although this wouldn't be sustainable in the long run, since soon the country would go through a double shock. On one hand, the collapse of the investment bank Lehman Brothers triggered a global financial meltdown that dragged the United States into a recession that seemed endless. In January 2009, political history changed when the country elected its first African-American president, Barack Obama. For Donald Trump, both events meant headaches that ended up completely disrupting his peace of mind. The financial crisis was eroding his image as an invincible businessman. Meanwhile, Barack Obama's arrival at the White House filled him with obsessive resentment. He couldn't stand that the most powerful man in the world represented a model so different from the kind of power he had always aspired to. So he decided to attack, just as his friend Roy Cohn would have suggested, and he did it by becoming the most aggressive media spokesperson for the birther movement, a conspiracy theory that claimed Barack Obama had not been born in the United States, but in Kenya, his father's homeland, and therefore his presidency lacked legitimacy. In 2011, Trump showed the world that he was a man capable of challenging anyone, even the president himself. He appeared on television shows, gave interviews, and tirelessly repeated his demand that Obama publicly show his full birth certificate. This boldness catapulted him to the center of the political debate and made him connect with an important community of voters who opposed Barack Obama, who denied the claims. He had already published a short birth certificate in 2008 during his campaign, but under growing pressure, he requested and published his long-form certificate, which showed that he was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. Though evidence disproved his accusations, Trump neither retracted nor apologized for them. And a few days later, he decided to attend the traditional White House Correspondents' Dinner, a charity event that celebrates the work of journalism and freedom of the press, where satire and political humor are an essential part of the show. That night, Barack Obama wouldn't miss the chance to publicly get back at Donald Trump in front of an audience full of journalists, politicians, and celebrities. He referred to the doubts that had been raised about his birth and announced that he would show never-before-seen images from that day. The room burst into shouts and applause. Obama quickly clarified it was a joke. That wasn't his birth certificate. And if anyone didn't believe him, they could call Disney to demand the extended version. The applause grew. Everyone understood who it was directed at. So clear and indirect. Then he decided to drop the hints and attack directly. With irony, he assured that the happiest person about his birth issue being resolved was Donald Trump. Well, now he could focus on other state issues that, without a doubt, obsessed him, like questioning whether man had really landed on the moon. What had happened with Roswell, or where were Biggie and Tupac? Clearly referring to major conspiracy mysteries? Everyone celebrated the irony, everyone except Donald, who could only manage an awkward smile as he took the president's blows one by one. But the massacre was far from over. Obama kept throwing darts, this time against the empire. Trump ridiculed the meat brand that bore his name and mocked his television show, The Apprentice, and the momentous decisions he made there, like firing young rookies. People couldn't stop laughing and applauding, but the final blow was still to come. In a solemn tone, he said that if Donald ever made it to the White House, he would undoubtedly bring about a radical change. He then displayed a powerful image on the screens. The White House was turned into a luxury presidential suite, crowned with the Trump surname in neon lights and a huge chandelier at the entrance. In front of it, in the garden fountain, there were two women in bikinis raising some. The laughter, this time, had a sharper, more cruel edge. They were no longer just mocking laughs. They were laced with pity and secondhand embarrassment, accompanied by whispers that only increased the humiliation. Donald Trump had never experienced anything like it, not even at the military academy. Had anyone ever exposed him in such a public and devastating way? That moment was recorded as a turning point in his personal history. Many analysts agree that it was there, under the warm lights of that hall filled with Washington's political and media elite, when everything changed. From that night on, the idea of becoming president stopped being a passing whim and became a life mission. Donald Trump decided he would never be beneath anyone again. What had seemed like a fantasy until then became his ultimate goal. He would be president, and he was willing to give everything to achieve it. And that's how it happened.
I'm officially running, and we're going to do it. Our country is great again.
Donald Trump would become president of the United States, but that's another story. If you want to see it on this channel, leave it in the comments. I'll be reading and responding And if you like this video, I invite you to watch others on the channel that you might also enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe. See you in the next story. Goodbye.